Welcome back, guys, to LCK Spring 2019. It's Game 3 time, do or die. KING-ZONE and SKT. The fight for third place continues. Now, red side is going to be occupied by KING-ZONE DragonX. And will they, once again, be able to lock in the Ezreal? Is my question.
And it's Game 3. And to me, Game 3 is always fascinating because, you know, we weren't a big fan of Ban LeBlanc, Thresh, Zoe, first pick Sylas.
Yep.
So things can definitely change there for SKT. But also, you know, with the war scars of game number 1 and 2 are going to have a big impact on the game number 3 draft, because we saw KING-ZONE pilot the new meta, the 1-week meta, the best of anyone so far today, and win with that big Frostmancy approach in game number 1. They won't be able to crib together that team comp again, but what do you leave open to get the things that did work back on your side? Pick a ban here can be oh so interesting, because I look at these champions and I think you can drop Thresh, Zoe, Galio, Cassio, 4 out of the 6 bans I think can be easily dropped across the side of SKT and KING-ZONE. What will be left open and what does it all mean? I'm ready to see this impressionist painting come together.
Yeah, me too, and I think that Ezreal might be banned in this particular game as well. I mean, it's going to be blue side occupied by SKT, so they're probably not going to opt into it, but I think it moves up to first pick status. I mean, the Sylas in game number 1 was almost a non-entity. As you can see, FLICKR, he was the one piloting it in that first game. He had one good Emperor's Divide, but it actually led to a team fight that they weren't able to come out with any kills in.
But clearly, Zephyr and the troops have a very high opinion of Sylas. They first picked it and banned it on red side. So are they willing to leave it open? What does that say about someone popping out a big performance on that champion on the side of KING-ZONE DragonX? The what if still reigns supreme. How much have we learned about SKT and KING-ZONE's power level? Very easy to say that KING-ZONE abused a 1-week meta in game number 1, then came back down to earth. And I think that's a fair thing to say now.
Yeah.
But only after game number 3 can we get the full picture. And that's why I'm impatient for the pick and ban overlay to come up and for the games to get rolling.
Yeah, really want to see exactly what is going to happen here. Of course, no subs or anything like that, guys. We're just waiting to get into this third and final game. Will it be the Sylas being first pick? Will the priority not necessarily be as high on the Ezreal? And are we going to see things like the Caitlyn returning to the bottom side of the map, the Sivir? Is it going to get the attention of players like Teddy and Deft? And getting behind hyper carries is the aim of the game when you have players like Teddy and Deft on your team. Both of them able to take games into their own hands, and we saw it demonstrated. Game 1, it was all about Deft. Game 2, it was all about Teddy. Who can do it in game 3?
But was it all about Ezreal? Because that was the common thing there, right?
Yeah.
And Ezreal's been a big champion today. No hot fixes coming for that one. That's going to be a future patch thing, and Ezreal has looked supremely powerful so far. So that's something also we have to wonder, because an Ezreal ban could throw a spanner or a wrench
I think so too.
Obviously waiting for some last-minute little things before the pick and ban comes up. We're so ready for it, Atlas. I'm bouncing my heel off the ground.
Me too.
Impatient.
Zephyr was also ready for it. You saw him on your screen as Pawn's wondering what the heck's going on here. Get us into this game. Get things started. Pawn and Deft have sat next to each other for a very long time now. Continuing to do so.
It is Valentine's week in LOL Park. There is a promotion going on, so chocolates and signs abound, even though the day is tomorrow, of course. What are your plans for Valentine's Day? I would love to ask FLICKR right now, but he's not listening. Whoa, that's an awesome Clid draw.
That is a really beautiful Clid drawing. That was also recently as well. Hey.
I think the love will be reciprocated there. Lee Sin, Clid, is there a match more pure?
Yeah, well, I don't think so. That's why it got banned. Game number 2, KING-ZONE got rid of it.
Not in this, really in the season of Valentine's Day, the whole banning thing, is it?
No. But KING-ZONE were able to deal with the Lee Sin in game number 1. I mean, Clid has certainly shown that he can get the plays done, but when you're against an Ezreal of that magnitude, it can be pretty difficult to deal with.
I always love when we get a chance to highlight some of the amazing drawing that's been done at the stadium. Placards and some texters put out there, and with those markers we see some pretty damn good drawings.
Yeah, and it's not actually people that come in with them ready prepared. These are actually done here.
Now, once in a while it is.
Yeah, sometimes.
Sometimes when you see the super extravagant one, someone just took one last match day and bought it for their next match day, but usually it is improvised on the spot.
Sort of space to get them sorted out. Okay, looking to try and get into this one as quickly as possible.
We can creep on Rascal's screen, and no, they're not in Champ Select just yet.
Yeah, not in the lobby just yet either, I think, on the side of Rascal, so hopefully he can get there.
Whoa!
Marta fan here in the audience. Carry me, Marta, is what that one says.
I mean, remember, he was rank 1 at the end of last season, so
yeah.
DOQ partner rankings, he's pretty damn high, Atlas.
Yep, when it comes to people that you want to carry you, Marta is certainly a good one. He's almost carried entire teams before. KT, looking at you.
Is that a Fiddlesticks on the right there?
Yeah, it looks like it.
Some Deft love being shown, of course. Wow, calling his ally on the left a Fiddlesticks. Thank you for that, G-Sun.
Deft fan, I think, is what I'd call him, but I think that was what he was talking about.
Big fan of the KING-ZONE DragonX jackets. I don't think they're for sale yet, so no sellout moment, but
no,
they actually changed it up this year. I think they look really cool. Deft wears his jacket well. He wears the hard carry well, but the Kaiser, that's where we're just still... We're all doing the double takes. You called it out in Champs, like sometimes bold, and it's Deft, of course, but kind of fell into what we've been seeing today. Definitely not been kind, and sounds like just some just issues with the client right now, slowing things down.
Marta and Rascal can't actually connect to the custom game, so we're just trying to sort it out, trying to work out why they have been unable to get into the lobby.
Fix your hair. It's almost Valentine's Day, Marta.
Damn, it worked very, very well. You know how often like you don't have a mirror or something like that, and you fix your hair and you're like, I don't know what's going on? Marta fixed it, didn't know what was going on. Perfect.
There's a Cloud Templar from the parody of the Sky Castle that was happening. It looks really good, actually, and very scary.
Yeah, very, very scary.
It is Marta's 6 years anniversary from debut. I'm not sure that's today, but I imagine today's the closest holiday or closest date,
soon.
Match date for that. So a lot of Marta love today. There's a lot of love out there. FLICKR, Marta, Deft, all supremely popular, top 5 popularity players.
Absolutely.
In the LCK.
Quan as well, having a lot of notoriety as well as a lot of fandom. He's been around for a very, very long time, and after 2014, you can't help remembering.
And what do we say about the players here? Not a lot of rookies out there. Rascal would have the least games played, Cuzz second least, and then from there it's pretty much effectively ultra veterans or mostly veterans.
Yeah, and I guess you've got to talk about Clid not necessarily having as much LCK experience.
Played in China for 2 full years.
Yes.
Splits, so because of that, would have plenty of professional games as well. G-Sun, what we got here? Just came all the way from Busan to watch a good match, so you got the 3 games. Another Deft fan, so Busan, of course, people mostly know it from the Train to Busan movie, so a long way from there. And actually a shout out to Ambition. Had one in the previous game, as Clid was wearing Ambition's world skin. And also Ambition is really smashing it in terms of Twitch viewership. Whenever I check it, he's close to 10,000. He's doing really well. Damn, double Tom Kench.
That is a lot of Tom Kench. Happy hour, I will eat you.
No, Teddy, I will eat you.
Oh, Teddy, I will eat you. I was like, happy hour?
I've
got it on the mind.
Teddy's a food, but whatever. Don't know what's going on there.
Yes, they are. You remember Tiny Teddies, Papa Smithy?
I mean, this guy was far from tiny last game. He was popping up.
That's true. He was huge. Game 1 Teddy, though, Tiny Teddies. And they were delicious. The chocolate variety.
We're both Australian, so yes, of course, I remember Tiny Teddies. I also remember Rookie Teddy from 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Was never really tiny. From very early, you're like, this guy's definitely a star. Hasmate had already some great performances on the side of SK Telecom T1.
And when you've got a player like Teddy, who was on teams that haven't necessarily been successful, like Jin Air Green Wings, and they come into SKT and you're like, damn, this is an upgrade, after Jin Air was just a bit of a hopeless case. That's when you know they're a special player, despite the result.
And I think a lot of people were trying to be grounded with Teddy and say, can he just be a replacement for Bank? Can he just slide in and be a reliable late-game carry? More is fantastic, but, you know, kind of the base level was, will I notice the difference? And to Teddy's credit, the answer is probably that he slid in really effectively. It has not been, you know, I was a big fish on Jin Air, now I'm on SKT with other big names, I'm going to not be the same player. I think he has been just as reliable. We haven't seen too many brain fades from Teddy at all. I think he has been great. So credit where credit's due. He's definitely done well. And it sounds like some of the client issues persisting, but we're optimistic that hopefully we will come back to game number 3 short.
Yep. Another person wishing Marta a happy 6 years. As, yes, I believe that we have fixed a lot of the client issues, but Marta just needs to get his headset on, get things sorted out so that we can get this game 3 underway The weight is killing, I'm sure, all of us.
If I have it correct, I could be wrong. I believe Mata was a Royal Roader in his first split on Samsung Ozone.
Well, I couldn't back
MVP
that one up
Ozone
for
at
you.
the time. I'm pretty sure he was a Royal Roader. I think it was Mata then Cuzz when it came to Royal Roaders in the LCK.
I know
Both of them
Cuzz
in this
wasn't
game.
the first. I know Cuzz wasn't the first.
Both of them in this game.
Yeah.
Mata been around a long time, but had success around the world. Definitely one of the most acclaimed players of all time. A lot of love being shown by the fans. Cuzz fan out there, very cool to
Wow, we
see.
found some.
I mean, Cuzz does actually have a pretty decent fan base. He had a popular stream at one point also, even when he was a rookie, so cool to see him out there. Feels like every time he goes to a loss, I'm like, is it Zac time? As Cuzz is a very notable Zac player.
Yeah. Interesting that he was sharing a spot with Peanut, but it was Cuzz's Zac that was very highly respected, of course, was playing without Peanut for a lot of the long
Did you hear that
time.
update, Atlas? I think good things are around the corner.
Yeah, players are
Whoa,
ready.
he's pissed.
He's real pissed. You're the best, FLICKR.
All right, not quite what we saw originally, but still, very emphatically shouting it out.
Yeah, he's like, oh, you're the best, FLICKR. That would be my translation.
Yeah.
With emotion.
You nailed it.
Thanks, man.
And you know what else we nailed? It's pick and ban time.
We nailed getting to pick and ban, eventually. And here we are, game number 3. We have to set you guys back up again because this is the deciding game. And KING-ZONE will move up to 3rd place if they can take it over SKT, I believe.
So, again, SKT back on blue. They lost to a Rio Frostmancy abuse comp in game number 1.
Yeah.
Their bans then, LeBlanc, Thresh, Zoe, first pick Silas. Already a huge change. Karma is on the bench. LeBlanc gonna join it as well. So FLICKR not wanting to deal with that. And it's worth mentioning that FLICKR has had a pretty shaky series so far.
Yeah.
Even in the win in game number 2, had a bit of a critical error that was kind of unnecessary from what we saw. So anything to kind of take away some playmakers from mid lane is probably a good idea. And Pawn was obviously popping off with some of those escapes once again. So don't mind the LeBlanc ban. Again, Zoe or Thresh would be if they're following in the footsteps of game number 1. But a lot's happened. It feels like it's been a long 2 hours, 10 minutes so far. They decide to ban the Thresh anyway. So a lot of respect for TusiN, even though TusiN's Thresh doesn't really fit in with the Rakan of yore, which was a must ban against KING-ZONE.
Ezreal would be the ban here from KING-ZONE if they have adapted, but they could look at something like the Silas, and we'll see whether SKT are going to put that onus on that mid lane, as Lissandra is going to be banned away from FLICKR. That denies the Urgot-Lissandra combo, and will the Silas be returned to, is now the question for first pick. Is Ezreal first pick? That makes the most sense to me, Papa Smithy.
I think we would have been jumping up and down with anger if it was a Silas first pick. We didn't see much of it in game number 1, but
They're
look
going
at
to see it in game 3.
This is the interesting thing. I think in hindsight, we look back and say, Silas did nothing. Silas, but remember that comp with all the extra wards really guaranteed Silas would do nothing. And clearly KING-ZONE are there with SKT and priority on Silas. We remain to be convinced around the world it's been iffy outside of a really good performance from Licorice on Cloud9 going full AP in the top lane. Speaking of full AP, we got a lot of magic damage going on the side of KING-ZONE, and when you see a lot of magic damage, you wonder if a certain GP10 support item might join.
Exactly right. The Frostmancy certainly could come in for the victor. Depends where he's going to be going. Of course, Deft is no stranger to the awesome dudes, but I'd want to see something with a bit of range that can bully the
How about an
Ezreal.
Urgot for FLICKR? Because it's up.
Yeah.
And could be considered here to get him a beefy boy to just be kind of a team fighter. They're not agreeing here.
Okay.
This would be something different. The Zoe against the blind Victor or Silas matchup is a bit bold. He's not going to play that.
No, he's
and
not.
he goes with the Zoe. Okay. Now, not a lot of ambiguity about the Zoe. It's worth knowing, and isn't quite LeBlanc when it comes to there are matchups that can deal with this too. Have we had the mid laner revealed? Talon is an old favorite of Pawn's, and you would run it into this matchup.
Yeah, not a bad one into the Zoe, but hovering it for now, 8 seconds to go. The Zac, you mentioned Cuzz's return, and I do like continuing to flex with all of these picks.
And you know what Zac is good against? He's good against Tahm Kench. I feel like that's one of the best compositional answers to the Devourer, because 2-for-1 special can come up in multiple ways. Either you kidnap 2 people or you knock their heads together when there's 2 people. So an old favorite of Cuzz, he will be running the Zac. Could potentially even steal a blank skin away. Sorry, a blank skin, yes. Not a Bengi skin, that was a blank skin away.
And look, the OLF going to be banned here in KING-ZONE with the fact that they last picked in the first round for the jungle. They can now try and deny some of the decent matchups. The Yasuo ban I really, really like because now that these Clid items have changed, Yasuo pretty good, Pop Smithy.
Would this mean Victor bot lane for Deft? Yes, he could be on the majors, played Ziggs already this season, but not having AD carry feels egregious on this patch. But it does mean that maybe you can fight early enough that you can take on the brunt of SKT before some of them tiers are fully stacked or double stacked. On side of SKT, an evolving question. We'll get the answer to it. I suspect we will see an AD carry, but I don't know for sure. Will SKT double ban mid lane? I feel like the Talon is not a real pick this time from Pawn, but because we've seen it, because the matchup can be a little bit annoying for the Zoe, let's see if it gets a coverage ban from SKT.
Rakan.
Huh.
Definitely a TusiN special, but it's an interesting option there. There's a lot of options still available here for the support of KING-ZONE. I'd like to see that one locked in, keep all of this flexibility available, as that's the on. And with the Tahm Kench locked in, no Braum counterpick to be opted into.
This doesn't help the 2v2, but they can take Braum as a strong support. And I think power picking Braum for some teams will be big on 9.3 forward. And so I have no problems with that being the lock-in here. Very strong against Ezreal and Zoe.
Yeah.
Compositionally, not a name we discussed. When it comes to SKT, we need to go top and jungle. That's what we're deciding here. Olaf banned away is one of the strongest blind pick jungles. Are we going to get some more lane supremacy to just try to counter jungle Zac, one of the oldest jungle minigames of all? Jace available. It should be noted as a top lane blind pick, but the Fiora is coming in instead. Cool to see. The Jace would have been just for the most lane priority, but they're feeling it with Fiora for Khan.
I actually really, really like this. With the Tahm Kench, having a 4-1 type composition is so much easier to run. So Humble Life do it fantastically in our first series today, and once again, SKT bringing out the Fiora, and they're going to look to split push their way to victory, and they've already proven that they can do it. But this is what I wanted, Papa Smithy. We got the Caitlyn from Deft, a champion that he's always been able to lane exceptionally well on and does decently into the Ezreal.
And it's so fascinating to think back about the last two picks here. You go Jace, and you're like, Khan's Jace, strong lane priority, let's invade Zac. But then you have a Siege comp that Zac kind of answers with super hard long-range engage, and then Caitlyn's locked in, and you're like, oh, can we win this game if the Siege doesn't work very early? The answer might be no. Jace doesn't win every 1v1 matchup as it goes on. But Fiora, you always like in the late game. Rascal can try to steal away that ult, but will it be enough? Your first thought is no. This does mean
a lot of dashes
you have
to get around.
And you still have really strong Siege, a flag to engage or disengage, a Tahm Kench disengage, and Fiora as a 4-1. So 4-1 is what SKT choose for. I don't mind that adaptation. I think it's vindicated when you see that Caitlyn that I think was coming out, whatever SKT chose.
Yeah, I like it a lot. Those are going to be your compositions. Coaches shake hands. The 4-1 comp from this squad. We don't have a lot of that Frostmancy coming in here. No. Teddy opted out of it entirely in game number 2, but still did just disgusting amounts of damage. FLICKR has an opportunity to go for a Frostbang if he wants to, but highly unlikely from the mid lane, not as able to abuse it. Over there, Pawn, we'll see whether he does on the Victor. My thought is yes, because he likes taking Kleptomancy anyway. This is going to be your team fighting comp out of KING-ZONE. A lot of lane priority available. Bottom side of the map with the Caitlyn there, but can they get enough work done to hide Cuzz for the first few minutes of this game and get the Zac in a position where he can get farm and stand up to Clid?
And Cuzz and Rascal have been under the microscope in some losses. Convince me on the top lane Sylas is another assignment I have for KING-ZONE DragonX.
Definitely an overabundance of SKT fans here in the audience. That is why this game would have sold out in extraordinary speed when the tickets came on. As our Pawn, no surprises, has gone towards the Spell Thieves, but does have Unsealed Spellbook, Papa Smithy.
Unsealed Spellbook and not Klepto is kind of the takeaway. That's kind of what he did in game number 1 when he went Hail of Blades and into the GP10 line. Does mean that he doesn't have to be focusing on minions in the early game, and it's actually a really tricky matchup against the Zoe because you get so heavily outranged and as this kind of control-ish mage, it's focused on wave clear, the wrong trouble bubble hits and your health bar disappears. So, can be a bit of a struggle. Going to play out differently, though. We'll inspect the 1v1, as it's always a little bit different when it's not about trying to catch the enemy as they CS. Now, he's not going to be CSing for the majority of the early game. See Kleptomancy onto Khan.
And Rascal has taken grasp of the Undying here, so he will have a little bit of an advantage in these trades, potentially.
Had some time to look into solo rank, and it's grasp full AP for every game that Rascal has played, so no off-tank shenanigans with an Iceborne Gauntlet expected here. Would be a tricky lane, though. Fiora takes time to get going in most lanes. And I feel like there's going to definitely be times around level 3 where, as Rascal, you can dive in, use all your abilities to harass and get the wave, but when you don't have 3 abilities, you can't proc the passive multiple times in an engage, so have to be a little bit more sure of yourself in the earlier trades.
Yeah, Rascal is going to get some sweet RNG here, was able to utilize not getting his weak point procced by Khan earlier to win that trade. Also, and both of them is going to be losing one of these corrupting potion procs themselves. Khan a fantastic Fiora player, so even though he's losing a couple of these trades, it's not a big deal.
Speaking of trades, bot lane is Caitlyn versus Ezreal. Huge range advantage, of course, outside of Mystic Shot interactions. Top side, Khan finding a moment for a really nice all-in. Went for W level 2 to guarantee a winning trade there. Didn't want to take a grass proc on the way out.
And Rascal gets the bad RNG to follow that one up as well, so lane control certainly in favor of Khan. Both of them throwing down their corrupting pots as Cuzz moves towards the top side as that ward is going to fall down in record time. FLICKR with a very early roam at level 3. Wanting to try and punish Rascal. He hops on over and will be able to find Cuzz.
Counter jungling is a team game, is one of those famous words from Diamond Procs on Gamma Gaming so many years ago. And we're seeing that team game for both a dive threaten and also Cuzz's jungle. This is SKT reading the spot really smartly as Khan has to move away. Reason why I say that is, what do we see from red side Zac players? I want a quick level 3. I want to get to level 3 before I go anywhere near a scuttle. You get that with Raptors, the red, and the top lane Krugs. So that's why it was very smart to have the Krug ward and slow down Cuzz's level 3.
Yeah, I like it. Teddy completely out of mana, but isn't going to be too worried here, and Deft just wants to kill as many minions as possible.
You know what the other funny thing is about the roam timing? You don't lose CS because the enemy doesn't really want to be CSing during that time, so it was 3 CS. Took 6 CS because he's backing now, and he's not going to have to worry about his quest being interrupted, but amusing that you can roam on a Kleptomancy, or in this case, a Frostmancy, or just in Frostfang Victor, and not get punished in as many ways in a game like this.
Yeah, and also I like the fact that FLICKR's moving out of this lane as well. I mean, there's a reason why his CSD numbers are so high. It's because he hasn't been roaming as much this season. Teleport to bring Khan straight back to this lane. And Cuzz also channeling his back. He goes home. Rascal will come back in as well. So what does he pick up here? It's a double dank seal in response to the Vamp Scepter that Khan collected for himself.
Much power as he can get. With the respawns, this is the camp you expect Cuzz to go to, and FLICKR's right there in his face.
Yeah, just dives on forward. Paddlestar's going to only get the AoE as he's holding onto this Proto Belt for a very long time. The Ignite's ticking down, and Cuzz, hasn't used the flash just yet. Trouble Bubble did land as Pawn, able to get in there just in time. And Cuzz not even down to the Cell division.
And they can't even get him out of his jungle because of that healing on the passive, so it seemed like FLICKR was guaranteed at least pop from the Bloblets. Doesn't get it there. Clid lied and wait, but it just lined up for Cuzz.
Yep, Clid comes on over. Like you say, lying in wait. He's going to be very visible, but the Raptor camp was actually collected pretty nicely there from Cuzz and in decent time as Khan throws down the riposte, but it's not exactly the one that they wanted here as Rascal, of course, remember, holding onto that Kingslayer, so that low health bar, it's a bit of a bait.
Now they'll know that Cuzz will back and go to Gromp because it's the only camp that could be respawning. Clid already finds him at the top. Krog's going to take a long time to respawn because remember they were delayed multiple times. So he's just doing his counter jungling. This is the mini game here. For once, it's not gold generation tonight. It's about holding down Zac. No level lead for Clid, but he's, half a camp away from hitting level 5 himself. Rascal can't overextend for trades, and all of your good trades in lane as the top lane Silas are overextending trades, Echo style. So because of that, with a jungle disadvantage, I'm not a huge fan of picking an overextending top laner with a jungler that loses out so heavily on the skirmish, because moments like this, we're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't as Rascal.
Yeah, exactly, and Clid's just biding his time, trying to get himself in here. Cuzz making his way back towards topside, and like you say, you expected him to head towards the Gromp.
Where else do you go?
Slingshot will bring Cuzz in as Clid uses the smite to steal that one away. Level 4 to the level 5, and at least Rascal now has the information for himself and also has that level 6.
And this is Cuzz playing on his weak side. I think being a bit greedy, trying to clear Krugs while he hopes Clid has gone for a reset. No reset from Clid. He's parked in the enemy jungle, as we can see, so the pressure's on here. Now, of course, we reach level 9, and if those wards start to fall away, we know exactly how threatening Elastic Slingshot is onto the Ezreal and Tahm Kench, so early game, we definitely give the pass marks for the counter jungling. We are kind of only as good as your last set of deep vision when you're facing a Zac. No kills yet or even bloblets forced on Cuzz.
And also no ability to get these turret plates also. So bottom side of the map was where the Ezreal was able to get almost all turret plates in both games, whether it be Deft or Teddy as Chaos Storm to clear out the minion wave. Doinby style, we like to say. Shout out to the Korean LPL player.
But he was kind of in a weird spot. He has 260 gold on his quest, so he kind of had to accept that he was gold generating that moment.
Yeah.
I assume that was so he didn't get pushed in and Zac lost 2 camps again. I wonder if that was a conversation or just Pawn trying to do the team thing. Looking at the gold, about a 400 gold lead so far, so the quest hasn't necessarily done too much, and no Kleptomancy like we mentioned to make it a full Frostmancy from Victor.
Yep, you can see Rascal just abducting, absconding around, that not using the Kingslayer, just holding that in case anything goes awry.
They know that blue was the first camp, they know it's respawn, here we go.
Yep, Cuzz gonna get invaded, doesn't get the smite.
2-level lead for Clid as well.
Damn. Jarvan is huge, and the bubble is going to land. There's the flash after the net. Is it going to be enough? The answer's a hell no, as TusiN gets slam dunked on the bottom side.
That's a boom shakalaka moment for the side of SKT. Everything comes together, even the Unbreakables on cooldown. They just explode. Deft from range, summoners are down, kills are down. This is even bigger than it first appears for SKT. Trouble Ball goes down, but the Unbreakable was used early. Deft burst from full, eaten by Mata. As the fans were talking about, Clid comes in for the invade at the same time. Level 4 Cuzz just taking the walls while his bot lane is deleted off the map. Sometimes the plan comes together. Big moment for SKT.
Yeah, big moment up top side here for Rascal in the meantime, but when everything's going wrong around you, like you say, overextending top laner feels like game number 1, but on the other foot here, Papa, what is he going to be able to do if there's nowhere that's safe on this map?
He just has so little backup when his jungler is taking the camps he's allowed to take by the enemy.
Yeah.
So he's been invading. Everyone's been invading. That was a fake flash, by the way.
Yeah.
No fat fingers involved. But that's the thing, right, is that Cuzz has no control of his own jungle, so an overextending top lane, just the same as if it was a Karma top, is like, oh, can I do this? Can I take this trade? Sylas, if he's able to use everything to harass and push, which is what usually you want to use his whole kit to get every single passive proc, does win trades against a lot of opponents. I've seen him beat Vlad, I've seen him beat Urgot. But in games like this, with the jungle situation, you don't get that. I believe Zac might have been spotted there, hard to tell, quirk of vision.
Yeah, potentially. I didn't actually see any pings out. There's blue pings going onto the Zoe. As FLICKR's been very active trying to get around this map, tagged by the W there.
I think we can assume not
Teddy?
spotted.
Yeah, based on how Teddy and Mata have been playing is, okay, Unbreakable is going to land onto Teddy. Wants to find it, gets the head bonk together. Is Cuzz going to be able to get the kidnap? The answer's no, but the flash in trade is certainly worth it for KING-ZONE.
Right time on the arcane shift means no head bonk, thus no guaranteed flash ult available for Cuzz. Top side. Trade still pretty even, about 18 CS lead again. Symptomatic of the effect of the jungle matchup. We can't talk about mid lane, of course, and the quest is still not cashed in just yet, so the CSD could get to silly streak.
It certainly could. Fawn has been farming on and off, as he's got a Ghost as well as a Cleanse. That spellbook. Haven't seen too much out of the Victor as of yet, as to be expected, as the Unbreakable to be used there by TusiN just to keep things okay. Rascal very low on mana, and Khan just dancing around him. Tiamat completed. The wave is going to be in his control. There's Shelly. She's going to pop up towards the top side, and now Rascal could just be dove.
Oh, it's the dream lane to actually try to slow down, because you say, oh, Rascal's winning trades, let's just get this turret dead, so that he has to overextend wherever he is on the map. Rascal going to take the Jarvan ultimate here for a bit more extra burst. Remember, has AP to AD ratio synergy or scaling there on how it works mid lane.
Yep, that's going to be the triple bubble landing, but it doesn't matter as Cuzz gets on out, and that's all too easy for KING-ZONE.
Really nicely done, and Faker's flash there, not enough to actually get him out, so there's a good moment for KING-ZONE, kind of the first of the game, and they need them wherever they can. They desperately want top lane turret to last as long as possible, but another turret plate, I believe, going to Khan. It's from minion damage. So much tension everywhere. Let's watch this one. No vision on the entrance here from Cuzz. He comes in, gets a little stun as the portal jump is in the air. Nothing happens, nothing doing.
Yeah.
It goes the way, and should also mention that Rascal has a pretty sucky ult to steal. You never want the portal jump.
And Rascal now gets to sit on this Cataclysm for about as long as he wants to as well and wait for Khan to use that riposte.
It does time out.
It takes a long time.
I was trying to look for information because I didn't see it on like League of Legends Wiki, the exact timer when it times out, but it does time out. I've felt that playing the top lane Sylas. So anyways, zooming into the bot lane. Caitlyn slowed down Atlas. Remember last time we had a Caitlyn meta, we had those games where Caitlyn died to a gank and then Caitlyn was CS for CS at best, right? And
yep,
kind of in that scenario again where it's defensive Caitlyn. Feels almost as bad as defensive Sylas, and isn't that what you kind of expected the moment that the first round Zac came through?
Yeah, exactly, and I just feel like SKT have got everything that they wanted and then more, with Ezreal being locked in, Tahm Kench able to augment that one as well. I mean, this draft is about as good as it gets for these guys. Khan on absolute comfort there on the top side as Rascal trying to do some battle here with the Fiora. A lot of safety underneath this turret. The Chain Lash actually doing a fair bit of work now as well.
And also, just going full Ravenous Hydra is the Fiora. No Phage interrupting it, just to guarantee the lifesteal to also fight in a minion wave and win. This is really smart from Fiora. Again, we'll talk about the theory as a little bit later, as right now. Very extended contest here. Hard for Pawn to walk up.
Yeah, and Deft over here as well sets up his trap line, and that means that KING-ZONE will be able to get this blue buff.
For this particular matchup, what I want to talk about is, again, I say you win when you can overextend for trades in a minion wave where you push and then just crib down damage with so much flat damage on your passive as the AP Sylas. Go Ravenous Hydra, and if you're fighting in that minion wave that you know Sylas wants to, you're also AoE healing off the minions with the Ravenous Hydra. So I really do like this item choice impacting the 1v1 matchup, and it's on one of these legendary picks from Khan. It feels like Jason Fiora are really his famous picks in the 1v1.
Yeah, absolutely. This time around, Clid is once again going to be able to pick up the Dragon, does so on the blue side for the first time. So far this series, it's been red side first drakes every time. As you can see, things very slowly working out here as finally the quest has completed for Pawn.
This is the first day we should once again go over. I'm sure some people are getting frustrated with how many times the quest situation has to be reintroduced. If you go the GP10 item, the Spell Thief into Frostfang, which we saw from level 1 here from Pawn, you pay the price of just focusing on harass in lane. You could go Kleptomancy, don't see that when Unsealed Spell, you can go Kleptomancy as well to get gold generation, then you start farming as normal when the quest is cashed in. Because he actually killed minions along the way, the quest was pretty late, about 12 minutes. So only now will we see Pawn actually focused on farming rather than denial of the enemy. And you can notice the denial didn't do much. We already talked about how Zoe's going up the priority list with all the removal of things like Akali and Nurse that came out on patch 9.3. It's almost 10 CS a minute. It seems like Zoe's pretty happy with the result of this Spell Thief start Pawn on Victor in game number 3.
Yeah, and of course, the gold standard is about 50 CS for parity. Needs to be the lead as Rascal moves out of the way of the Trouble Bubble, gets hit by the Paddle Star. A lot of damage there on the Faker from the turret, though. Rascal, like you say, timeout did actually happen there on the Cataclysm.
And in the late game, you know, you're going to have 2 sources of gold generation, you're killing the minions and harassing the enemy. You can keep getting the quest gold in, and you'll have the Sight Stone for Baron Vision. But does that matter when you're this far behind Atlas? They're paying the price for a lot of their choices here.
Yeah.
I feel like Zac is the biggest price they've had to pay for because Cuzz has been a passenger in the early game outside of a good gank in the mid game. But Sylas already looking like he's going to struggle. Definitely a huge item lead for Khan in the 1v1. Really feeling the Fiora choice in hindsight.
Yeah.
Zone pushing up here, but you see Unbreakable that early, and you say, surely Zac is around if he's using Unbreakable so willy-nilly.
Exactly. And now Khan is going to have that control on the top side. Cuzz coming on in, trying to make use of the fact that Mata did recently use his flash, but hadn't used his stopwatch. His pawn comes on down, and the flash is used, but it's just not enough. Chaos Storm is going to definitely be enough to get rid of it. TusiN uses his whole health bar. That's exactly what you want from your tank. But is it worth it, as top lane outer turret fell for free, and FLICKR getting free damage mid?
It took a lot of time. The mid having to come, like you mentioned, is a big thing. Just trying to get more sparkles a million times against the turret. To actually take a turret to punish. I feel like Mata should have been able to get away. He had Flash, Cleanse, and Guardian. Yeah. But you know, he went down. Again, one kill is only a kill, right? It's only immediate kill goal. It doesn't really get them a map lead at all. The map is being, like you say, punished by the enemy. This all seemed pretty obvious, but he steps on a trap to start this. Still doesn't cleanse at any moment. Could have cleanse flashed earlier. He probably thought he was fine with just the stopwatch. I think Mata messed that one up. But yeah. Also, if you think about it all together, they don't lose the turret. They get a turret damage lead, so maybe it doesn't matter.
It's a good point. Teddy underneath his turret. He's going for Trinity Force. This time around, instead of the Iceborne Gauntlet, just wants to have a little bit more oomph a little bit earlier. Actually would have still liked the Iceborne Gauntlet this game, but against double AP, I guess the armor is not going to be as valuable.
First time, again, in his match history was focusing on the Zonias, but I think you can tell there's probably no item break even from this point onwards where taking a Fiora is going to be easy. You can name the champions that can handle 2-item Fiora on one hand, maybe on one finger. There's so few champions that can take him in the 1v1. And you see Silas and say, yeah, if you're not getting really high roll on AP ult stealing, you're going to be in the side lane Echo style. And you're like, I'm Fiora. How you doing? I'm liking the Fiora in the match.
Yep, Rascal going to come back in there as he picks up the ult. But he's going to be too worried about it, and that's the mid lane outer turret finally falling down. All of the work that FLICKR did early is the reason why that one is going to go down.
4-1, that was the equation. Seems like the 4-1 set up pretty well for SKT.
Yep, FLICKR doesn't get the Paddle Star as Infernal Drake coming up in 40 seconds time. Now Rascal's still fighting it out against Khan. Mirror matchup with the ultimates, but every other button is in favor in the 1v1 of this Fiora.
Even more for the 4-1. It's Trinity Force on the Ezreal.
Yeah.
Not always a spot for this, but I don't mind it here because it's going to be just supremely annoying the moment the Mirror Mana comes in to deal with Ludens on Zoe and a Triforce Ezreal.
Now the Trouble Bubble lands. A stand behind me at least gets the Braum to relative safety. Ward's coming down. KING-ZONE do not want to give away this Infernal for free. The bubble from FLICKR is not going to land. He's sitting on a heal, so can play a little bit more recklessly.
But given what we're talking about, it needs to be an initiation from the Zac. It has to be Zac going in. And every time moments like this happen, Cuzz is no longer going to be a match winner. And because he put his team so far behind, we're looking on Cuzz to pay off now. Almost every team fight needs to be Cuzz vindicating the Zac choice. Otherwise, the siege starts and it never ends from SKT.
Yeah. Well, FLICKR picks up an Ignite that TusiN was cycling there, wanting to get his heal back. Deft still waiting underneath this turret. A lot of traps still set up. And Teddy's still able to get in there.
They got flags, they got trouble bubbles. They have a lot of way to check for the Zac in the usual Zac engage spots without the permanent vision that putting down a control ward would provide. So really nicely done from FLICKR. Understands the only way KING-ZONE can get back into this game. They don't have that vision, so Zac might load up again, but it is a Fiora.
Yeah, Pawn actually going toe-to-toe here with Khan, but when Stretch Armstrong doesn't land his arms, Fiora's able to dash up, do things back to him. Okay, SKT will start off the Infernal, and it just looks like KING-ZONE will have to give this one up, just taking too much damage here. And I haven't had a lot of these games where I just straight up disagree with how the draft went, but this is one of those series where the priorities have been in really odd places, especially when it comes to things like the Ezreal.
I just think that KING-ZONE thought there was no way that SKT would blind pick Fiora. Of course, it was likely it would be a Silas top. That's usually Silas's home, as we know.
Yeah.
But I think the Fiora walked this game in a way where Rascal doesn't really have anything he can do, because his jungler can't set him up to trade early. Ravenous Hydra's in, have you missed your window? It's seeming increasingly like the answer is yes. Now he's kind of stuck being a worse Fiora. He really feels like an imitation Fiora, especially when he thrift shops the Fiora ult. It's like the most obvious that he's a lesser version of what we already see on the side of SKT. Ezreal's looking like he's, you know, happily been able to farm away. Double tier on the way. I'm not hugely convinced on the mid lane Victor with Frostmancy just into Zoe. It's not a great lane matchup, and hasn't really bared much fruit. It was a very late transfer on the wards, and now, yeah, I'm there with you. There was some moments, but the key moment in this game is Zac being invaded, which is pretty standard.
Yeah.
But actually the bot lane gank getting everything, getting double summoners. That roam from FLICKR basically vacated bot lane. We never saw Caitlyn overextend over the halfway mark and harass down the enemy turret and get turret plates. The moment you're not getting turret plates as Caitlyn, what are we even talking about, right? But that just couldn't happen because of that great roam timing. And from there, the Fiora and then the bot lane not being able to do its job was too much for KING-ZONE to really find a footing, and now we see a 5,000 gold lead for SKT.
Yeah. Finally, Deft is able to finish off that Infinity Edge. It was Rapid Fire Cannon that was gone for first. See whether he does decide to go for another Zeal item after this, just to try and do even more damage. Scaling, of course, multiplicatively with the extended critical strike damage available from the Infinity Edge. Rascal comes on down, but he just has to leave because this turret is well and truly being taken.
He can't do anything. He doesn't have ranged wave clear. Q does a bit, but it's not a real ranged wave clear tool, especially because he has only a smattering of AP in the build so far.
Yeah, it's just a Fiendish Codex as far as AP is concerned.
I guess it's second item Zonya's to dive, but wants to be a dive buddy for Cuzz, I guess. Really all I can read into that.
Wouldn't mind something like a Morellonomicon or something like that. I mean, Grievous Wounds is going to be powerful in the 1v1, but yeah, like you say, I feel like it's a little bit too little too late. Struggle Bubble not going to land onto TusiN. Somehow he was able to sidle on past.
I just look at this game and I say, what does KING-ZONE getting a win look like outside just a huge mistake from SKT, right? And
yeah,
just has to be
a
maybe
pop-off for the Zac, I guess.
A skirmish where SKT are too overzealous and flashes it down, and then Cuzz scoops up 3 people. You can see that, right? But already we're saying, aha, trading evenly when you're this far behind, and then coming back in a timer, and SKT once again overextending and getting a kill. That's already a twofold unlikely thing, and that shows you that right now SKT in the driver's seat in multiple different ways. Cuzz backs, buying control wards. We're trying to repel a Baron start. SKT's Baron is fine without being amazing, but on the other side, that farm bounty that has been built from Khan is only going to get bigger as the answer to Khan is no bigger.
Yeah, and this is not a Frostmancy matchup as well, ladies and gentlemen. If you've been watching all day, you'll know to look at these
oh, he's just slamming
CS values. No, he is just straight up smashing Rascal this hard. And at 23.5 minutes to be 20 CS ahead of the clock and to force your opponent behind it by 5. Like, it's a very impressive game.
It's why first pick Sylas, I feel like, is getting found out more often than not, because it's just a lot of matchups that you sit back and think and you're like, wait, I think Sylas eventually loses that. I like the Urgot matchup. I know some people aren't even convinced of that one. But now I see Fiora, and I'm like, damn, a Fiora matchup where she does well, that's scary. Speaking of scary.
Yep, Abyssal Voyage is going to come in because, oh no.
Oh, he's done.
Yeah, didn't see that one as Cell Division is going to come in, but they're going to divide him very, very quickly. A couple of teleports were available, but they would have just died as well. And it just hasn't been Cuzz's game so far. Khan split pushing, doing exactly what he wants here underneath this turret, and Rascal has no options.
850 gold farm bounty. Remember that farm bounties were tweaked previously. If you died, you could still end up with a massive farm bounty. In fact, remember the person who did that? It was Khan against Jinair when he was getting ganked successfully by Malrang Xinjiao.
The 0-2-0 rise.
With a 1,000 gold bounty.
Yeah.
This isn't that kind of wonky bounty. It's just a real bounty. It's just he's farming a lot compared to the average level of farm across Rascal, Cuzz, Thorn, and Deft. You look at the numbers, you're like, ooh, 280. That's a lot more than 240, which would be 10 a minute.
Yep.
That's just him styling with Kleptomancy for an insane gold advantage.
And a truly forced Ravenous Hydra already completed, which is just bonkers. Third Drake goes down very, very easily. Clid's had the easiest game ever.
Here's a question. Khan rolls into lane.
Yeah.
He sees his opponents in vision.
Yeah.
How many does there have to be in vision to beat him? So no, like, funny business like Victor gets a full combo because he has a vision advantage. Like, how many can he take? I would say upwards of 3.
Yeah, I think 3.
I think 4
like,
is the line.
I can still do it, but yeah, 4 people, he'll only be able to kill one of them until he goes down.
That's scary to think about.
It is. It is.
How many members of KING-ZONE's gold totals are Khan's gold total, I wonder?
2, at
I think it might be 3. I'm including the support in this one, but...
I mean, he's about to Flame Horizon at 27 minutes.
Oh,
that's a legitimate
exact, a real Flame Horizon.
Yeah.
They've actually only been playing for lane too, so it's almost a 2014 Flame Horizon.
What is this?
What?
It's underneath the turret, hanging out. The inhibitor turret, 26 minutes. Meanwhile, there's another fight going on that SKT looking pretty good in. It's Cuzz doesn't have cell division and he's down to half health, and that's another trouble bubble. Teddy, maybe in a little bit of trouble there as Pawn's protecting his jungler, but Marta does have the Devour.
Teddy was taken out of the redemption healing there, very amusing. But it's 4-1 Atlas, we know that's a terror.
Yeah, and TusiN has the stand behind me, but he's doing his very best to get the hell out of dodge here as FLICKR gets procced by Deft. Getting those headshots in there. I know he's... Caitlyn, we've been talking it up, we've spoken it up in the past, but the game is honestly happening around the Caitlyn this time.
I actually asked a couple of Korean 80 carries, like, okay, IE's back, crit items are back, Caitlyn is that lane dominant champion. I remember 2017 Worlds, Caitlyn came out of nowhere in the unsensor meta and was super strong. How are we feeling about Caitlyn? And I was surprised that a lot of people were more down on Caitlyn. You see a game like this where Caitlyn gets ganked, and okay, but Caitlyn's not the fault here. We know Caitlyn from behind does struggle a bit and can be held a lot more honest, but it's also the fact that there's a lot of lane counters against Caitlyn that can actually exist. A lot of Korean 80 carries like Jhin against Caitlyn, so Jhin is kind of like a counter pick at the moment. Ashe was always famously good against Caitlyn, and maybe even more when Conqueror's changed. On patch 9.4, Draven into Caitlyn, with a little bit of help, can go a very long way, so... Feels like the Caitlyn stock is lower than my first thought, and games like this remind you that even when it's not a matchup thing, Caitlyn has her gameplay counters as well.
Yeah, that is true. And when you've got Ezreal and Zoe skipping around, I mean, how many safe places are there to be? And that's a, like you say, 1,000 gold bounty on
And
Khan.
look what we got. A Spear of Shojin. First in the LCK. That means that we have our first return of the Essence Sphere. It has a really cool name on the Spear of Shojin. It's not called Essence Sphere.
It's like Awakening of the Dragon.
Awakening of the Dragon or something.
Yeah.
It's old Essence Flare. It is, again, your auto attacks reduce your cooldown on your abilities. It means that the riposte is up more than once every skirmish. That's scary. And it means that, yep, you're just getting roller skating queued on every half second.
Yeah, the amount of lunges that you get in these fights is despicable. With that one, is Rascal not going to get trouble bubbled. I heard the sound too, guys, but
the line is now at 4. Remember how it was 3 before. The line is at 4 now because remember he has 40% CDR and a CDR refund on riposte.
If he's in any of these fights at all, it's just over.
All right, team fight Fiora. It's all we need tonight. We had a lot of weird and wonderful stuff. I need to see the full oomph of this Fiora. It'll be just amazing to watch.
I just don't know whether you will, Papa Smithy, because he's on the bottom side doing battle with Rascal.
Does he dare to ultimate? I need to see it.
Man, the ultimate's actually been stolen.
Here we go.
Now it's finally going to be traded back. We can see it picture in picture. I don't know why we're not just watching it.
The turret there was doing a big number there.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of disengage available, so sadly you don't see the full oomph. That was a tease.
Yeah, Teddy's going to move on forward.
I know the Observer. I'm going to give him a bit of lip after this.
Yeah, why did we only get it in the picture-in-picture? That's the frustrating part. Is Unbreakable does land, but yeah, when a W lands, Deft can't really go in. Is okay, Cuzz. He's looking for it. Head bonk does come back as Teddy's in trouble. Has to arcane shift to get out, and Marta does fall down as well, most likely, as Deft is able to grab a couple of kills. FLICKR comes in, but it's a little bit too late, and Clid, what can he actually do here? Unbreakable down, Clid's going to get stunned up eventually. Good vision available as they get rid of the Zac, and it's just not enough. Unfortunately, they're just too far ahead. Cataclysm going to be used by Rascal as Pawn gets on over. Portal jump, can he do it? The answer is yes on Rascal's side as Clid gets out. And Pawn's able to do battle, but in the meantime, Papa Smithy, yeah, Khan's just going to win the game.
All right, recall comes in. Can Rascal do anything? Ult not up on the Fiora, so has to be a bit more respectful here, but the chase isn't going to happen.
Yeah, it doesn't find the chain. Can't abduct his way forward, so it's just not enough.
This is the quintessential farm bounty. The Flame Horizon did happen, by the way, so congratulations for a real Flame Horizon. People object that term a lot as a back. Oh!
Man, that takes some stones just to hold onto the back right there.
The only bad thing in all of that is that the big bounty goes the way of Kings. I didn't see who killed the Ezreal, but 1,000 gold.
Deft got both.
goes to Deft. I just don't think it will matter when the side laner, who says he has TP but clearly doesn't, is just going to keep pushing. We watch the replay here. Notice where everyone else is. Fiora's man fighting, and the Zoe and the jungler aren't there, so they do actually chase down. It's a bit too bold in positioning, but overall it ends up being super even, and obviously across the map, just straight up win for SKT.
Oh, so unfortunate that Rascal didn't manage to get the teleport onto the bloblets. He got it on the control ward instead, and it meant that Cuzz was dead. I mean, that could have been much better for KING-ZONE in the end, but just sad. We're back in the same spot. See whether the result is going to be the same here as Deft goes back, gets himself the F sword, as well as a QSS, so he's going to be feeling a lot better in these fights.
Khan is so far ahead of Rascal.
Yeah.
Words don't do it justice. I really need that tab over to the gold here, because it's... What do you think? 4,500 gold? 5,000 gold? What's the lead here for Khan?
I think it's at least 4.
I think it's more than 4 comfortably,
yeah.
Though. That's a scary thought. Clid is around the back. He finds Pawn. But he's just going to lie in wait for a moment.
Yeah, they haven't actually checked this one as there's the Abyssal Voyage. Marta's going to get the delivery, and yeah, Khan's just going to win the game.
Yeah.
I feel like that's going to be what we say after almost everything here, as Rascal has to flash to get himself onto his base. Deft trying to move on over,
and they stop him.
He might actually just do it by himself. Riposte does come in. Eventually, Khan is going to die, but that's a Baron for free over to SKT.
The number was 4, Atlas. With 3 there, you thought, you believed it could happen. The game doesn't end, but the Baron will come in anyway. The global taunt is real. I don't think the bounty is going to be enough to dissuade it. Still 474 gold bounty after the 1,000. It's FLICKR.
Cuzz, I'm not sure what he was doing there. Feeling a little bit of tilt here potentially as the trouble bubble does come in. Unbreakable going to do some work there from TusiN, but it almost looked like it wasn't up as Banshee's Veil protects him from everything. And oh
FLICKR.
No, that is a Braum. Okay, he's going to be all right. Clid comes in, uses the W, and he's going to shield himself up just fine.
Just can't run away from all the problems, though. KING-ZONE DragonX just feels like there's no way back into this game.
Yeah.
You're not the best team fighter, but with Spear Shojin, she can do a pretty decent team fight impression, and 1v1 she is just insane. But given all of that, you're just being pulled across. All the seams are coming apart on the side. SKT, we're going to watch the replay here. Rascal has a turret and a Zonia's and a Dream, but the turret soon dies, and they need the backups. Redemption there, helpful. I'm 100% sure he would have won 1v2. I think he would have won 1v3. But Pawn comes in, it gives up the Baron, it stops the game ending though, but only by a hair.
I half think that he could have just killed Rascal and then killed Deft. And then maybe taken the Nexus. Yeah. Oof. He already had the Grand Challenge heal down on the floor. But, man, this is a really, really, really scary Fiora. Only one more item slot to go. Randu and Zoman picked up, I believe, in just one fell swoop.
Because of the 1,000 gold going over, I believe actually to the Silas gold lead is now around 2,500.
Somehow, we're talking about Silas being extraordinarily far behind and he's 2-0.
It's a funny old game.
It is a funny
Fiora's winning the game with no kill involvements.
0-1-0 Fiora, but might get the MVP.
Juve did this way back when in 2016, had games where he would win the game on Fiora purely from split push, but never actually get kills. So he had like a 0.7 KDA.
Yeah. With
loads of victories.
Well, Cuzz going to go for the last-ditch effort, wants to find this one, but the flash is going to be used by Marta, and that means Teddy is going to be A-OK. Pawn has a Chaos Storm down, but remember, this is a Nexus that's just open. And another dead blob man on the bottom side. Pawn has a shield, but will he have his life as Khan's just going to dive on forward? Just decides that maybe he wants to get a kill here on the back end. Braum falls down, Deft immediately follows. As KING-ZONE, that's going to be it. They can't offer anything back. Teddy fighting out against Pawn, but eventually the Nexus will just be auto-attacked and taken out. SKT, they fight back from a Game 1 loss, and in the end, it's the reverse sweep.
They introduced the Karma Bands. They try to make the game less about the Frost Manti, less about the wards, and I think it pays off in dividends. SKT much stronger in game number 2 and 3, needed to be. KING-ZONE had some really good ideas in the first game, but it felt like their first magic trick was a take your breath away kind of thing, but when the full set hit, it felt like the 4th, the 5th, the 6th trick didn't have the same reverberation around the crowd. The oohs and the ahs were gone, and what was left but a 2-1 loss. The side of KING-ZONE. Congratulations for SKT. They needed this.
They did.
After the long break to come in strong. Question we've been asking is, who is the second best team in Korea? And we can't know the answer today. Sandbox deserves the benefit of the doubt after taking a game from Griffin. But all SKT can do is win every best of 3 in front of them and hope to see Sandbox trip up next time out.
Yeah, and KING-ZONE actually put a little bit of a notch into SKT by taking that game number 1. But we saw actually what it meant to all of these players as well. Mata hugging Deft there and Pawn immediately afterwards. 2 of his ex-teammates, as well as Khan and Rascal, embracing at the end of that game. You know that everyone knows each other, and this means a lot to both of these teams. Unfortunately for KING-ZONE, it's on the opposite side of the scale, having to walk away with this 1-2 loss after a dominant game 1.
Really want to talk about one player in particular. It's one that normally you don't have to preface, but I think FLICKR had a really good game in game number 3. The roam bot lane was actually the game winner. It doesn't feel like it, as we're really peeling away a lot of things, but Caitlyn was a problem until instantly she wasn't, when all summoners were lost thanks to FLICKR's really good roam and hitting the trouble bubble, and from there, it's his first win on Zoe this season. Again, before today, it was Urgot Galio Scion. So again, these controlled champs that FLICKR's been associated with since the Galio 2017 World Heroics. Lissandra, again, kind of cribs some notes from that champion pool. The Zoe's far away from that. So the Zoe is a new leaf for FLICKR this season when it comes to winning on much more of that mage-type champion. So important, I think, personally for FLICKR to have this game. KING-ZONE, again, can look at game number 1. They'll try to recreate game number 1 in that matchup later this week. But I think because of this 1-week meta, my unease was there was going to be series where a team won with hijinks, and then next week it's like, yes, they won against X team, but that strategy is gone. You have much more of that question with KING-ZONE than you do SKT coming away from this best of 3.
Yeah, still a lot of good things to talk about here on the side of KING-ZONE. I felt like there was a huge brain fade from Pawn in their game number 2 loss, where he picked up the Talon last week on Sunday before the Lunar New Year break. And now comes back and actually has a pretty good series. The game number 3 was relatively forgettable, but otherwise, I mean, this is a Pawn that was playing largely reserved in a lot of ways as well, and KING-ZONE need to have their solo lanes find some solidity. The biggest problem was Cuzz, and honestly, he just got abused by Clid. Games 2 and 3 just really were a non-factor in the jungle.
But remember that everyone just goes to like Lost at Draft with a lot of SKT's games, and I've had plenty of things to say where I'm like, I just didn't like this draft. Wasn't it smart to go for that last pick Fiora on Blue's side here? It really took so much onus away from KING-ZONE. There were so many points where I was sitting there being like, how did KING-ZONE even square up the series from here? Get the game back in game number 3.
Yeah.
The moment that Cuzz was getting contested at every buff and Fiora was winning trades, it felt like the control was gone. The ball was being run with by SKT. So really liked that game 3 draft. I really like how it came together. It's not a results-oriented thing. It's from early in the game, we're like, oh, how is this going to work? And quickly the answer was it wasn't.
Well, the Lissandra was banned last here on the side of KING-ZONE. Ezreal was first pick, the first successful move from KING-ZONE in the draft. And then Sylas first picked blind.
3 and 0, Ezreal.
Exactly. And Sylas 0 and 2, and honestly looked like a completely wasted pick in both games that he was in. And we had this prefaced, I believe, it was Ellis and I discussing this on the last day, just seeing what Sylas might be in our next week, and he said he's crap. That was basically his word for word verbatim.
I'm much more high on Sylas than just he's rubbish. He does some things really well, but you can see where the problem is to me. Again, it's, reading the tea leaves a little bit, but if you can overextend for trades, it's way easier in scrims. You can run away with the game as Sylas kind of into lane against him. Sometimes he gets Sona ult and just dominates team fight too. But in a stage environment where everyone is a little bit more defensive, especially in Korea, right?
Yeah.
You don't run away with lanes, and then the else lose becomes a lot more apparent, right? So I'm somewhere in the middle where I'm like, this champion clearly does some things pretty uniquely well. There's not many champions that can run into Urgot and Vlad and win trades in a vacuum, but we're not in a vacuum. We're in the LCK, and teams need to do a lot more work to get it working, and it's why whenever I hear, like, people say Sylas is good, and Yorick is OP, and new champs are coming, I'm always like, aha, show it to me on stage. We saw the Yorick on stage, we haven't seen the Sylas on stage, so I'm going to say potential, but for now, unfulfilled potential, and some more beta testing required for these teams.
Yeah, and I just think not blind pickable is more what I'm talking about. First pick in game number 1, first pick on the red side in game number 3, and still didn't do so much as that's top damage going to a Fiora with a Zoe and Ezreal poking things out during the mid-game. Just shows how much Khan was able to get done in that laning phase and how completely abused the Sylas was despite topping damage on his team.
Remember, it was Sylas and Victor early, and neither of them could really do anything this game.
Yeah.
The Cuzz, Zach we saw coming, but it didn't really feel like they had any more after the first round because the second round didn't bail them out. And again, so important to get that gank bot side to even negate Caitlyn Braum, which is the only 2v2 piece where you said, yes, Zach's going to get all of his bot side jungle camps because of specifically Caitlyn and the Braum synergy. You look at the MVP, and a man who has had none and has only had Scorn thrown his way has been Khan. So the scoreline definitely doesn't leap off the page as an MVP, but if you watch the game, you know a whole lot of work done on the split push.
Yep, 1-0-1 for
1-1
the Fiora. Sorry, 1-1-1. As he was 0-1-0 at one stage, but almost won the game by himself, and there needed to be 4 people sent towards him in order to stop him from destroying the Nexus. So definitely no other choices when it came to the MVP. Khan certainly outperformed the laning phase and then just continued the game on.
We didn't get a vote. I would have voted FLICKR, but I don't mind Khan winning, like you say. Did warp this game in a very big way. And now we learn. Man Fiora into that particular top laner. Sylas looks pretty damn good.
Yeah. Just not a lot of options. Of course, that'll mean that Khan and Teddy are the players that we're going to be having a chat to, so let's throw it over to Ji-Sun to get some translation.
Thank you very much, guys. This is Ji-Sun with today's last interview translation, and SKT won the 3rd place battle. We're going to be joined by Teddy and Khan from SK Telecom. How do you guys feel picking up the victory? We had quite a long break, but we did prepare a lot, so that's why we won. I'm gonna keep this hard work going. Khan, how did you spend your holidays? Well, I live in Jeju Island, so it's really hard to get the plane to get down there early if you don't book it early hand. So I spend my time basically with my friends. So I'm sorry for my parents. I'll make sure to go visit you in the next holidays. Sorry. Khan, it was a match against your original team. How do you feel? It's really hard to explain. Well, I do want to take them down, but at the same time, I felt really sorry. For now, I won, so I'm a bit happier than being sorry. Did you have any communication with Rascal or the coaching staff before the game? Yeah, before going to games, we were kind of making funny comments and like, you know, we were basically just saying some bad words because we were guys, you know. We were just being rude to each other for fun. So let's move on to games. Well, no farm meta seems to be the newest trend right now. So how was facing up against the KING-ZONE's 4 no farm meta? I think they were having a very fun game. I was like, what's that? They had so many wards, so I think it's a really good meta. What about you, Khan? In terms of top lane, well, no farm versus no farm in top lane. Whoa! You know, Rascal is a skinny guy. He doesn't know how to go on a diet, but I know how to go on a diet, so that's why I won on top lane. Game 2 was a bit different. You went with Ezreal and you're getting MVP. 3 games in a row on Ezreal, but you did not go with the no farm and the support item Ezreal build. Well, I did try that in the scrims and solo queues. Well, not yet in scrims, but in solo queue. But so I haven't tried it in practice games yet. So I just want to be a little bit more cautious. How do you rate the current meta on Ezreal? I think it's really interesting. You can have a lot of visions and wards. So yeah, it's worth a try. Game 2, we want to go through these highlights. You just bursted down Kai'Sa in the very late game. You had a very precise skill engagement. W, E, and he just disappeared. That's it. Did you expect that? Yes.
그냥 피가 갑자기 한 70%, 한 60%까지 내려가길래
Well, I saw his HP going down to like 30 or 40%, so I just thought that one more auto can take her down. So in the analyst stats, Captain Jack actually said it's really more like an impossible mission to take than a well-fed Ezreal. Do you agree with that?
잘큰 이즈 탐캐치는 좀 막기 힘들긴 한데
Yeah, well-fed Ezreal Tomcat is really hard to catch out, but Ezreal itself is not that strong. Khan, game 3 you went with Fiora. You are on a 2-0 score right now. Why did you go with Fiora? So they had Silas and Victor. So I thought it would be a really hard matchup against Victor, but I just told my coaching staff I'm quite confident, so I'm gonna go with it. FLICKR actually lost the MVP vote just by 1. How was your teamwork with FLICKR today? Before games, I always play 1v1 with FLICKR. Well, I hope he can get his MVP next time. Hopefully. Khan, so we have a highlight for you here too. You are playing 3v1 in the enemy nexus. What was going through your head at that moment? Well, I was very confident that it was more like an impossible to lose 1v1 against Silas. So I was going really aggressively over there, so a lot of players just went toward me. So it was a very good macro for SK Telecom because we have better rotation. Well, if he didn't call that much of a friends, I could have win that, but he got too many friends there. Well, 2v1 was easy for me, but in the end it was 4v1. That was too much for me. A lot of the enemy players were so worried about your Fiora. So SK Telecom closed the game in 2-1 victory, and today I heard today is Mata's 6 years anniversary as a LCK debut. Any message for him?
제가 중학교 때 봤던 형인데.
Well, I saw him performing when I was in middle school. Well, I guess he's an old man now. He got a lot of long career. So I hope he can win he can become a champion once again before going to the Korean army, hopefully. I'm going to do my best for him. And Khan? Mara is indeed old. Well, I am the oldest player in top lane, so we're getting old together. Let's not get sick and let's have a great year, 2019. Very heartwarming message from Teddy and Khan. And the first round robin is around the corner, to be end. I bet you guys want to climb a little bit higher, right? I'm really sad and disappointed with our 2 losses. So I'm gonna make sure to win all the upcoming matches in the first round robin. And Khan, you wanna add on to that? Same goes to me. 2 losses is really disappointing. But all of our players, you know, Crazy, Haru, Leo, Gori, we're all just performing and preparing so hard for this performance and this series. So I just want to thank all my sub players too for helping us a lot. Thank you very much for this interview. We're gonna come back tomorrow. Bye bye.
Thank you very much, Ji-sun. Great to hear from both Teddy and Khan, and also great to hear that Khan's thanking all of the subs as well, because there is a heck of a lot of players on that team. Only FLICKR without a sub in that mid lane, so certainly a lot of other players that we don't actually get to see very much of at all.
And remember, Gori is named there. He is the sub mid laner, but not actually registered with Casper right now, so can't actually play.
Yeah, that's right.
On the LCK stage. Yeah, could be registered at any moment. I believe he is older than 17, so should be able to do that. But for whatever reason, not actually going to get stage time anytime soon. FLICKR doing much better, I would say. In game number 3 in SKT, again, when they made it less about the shenanigans, they seem to have the measure.
Yeah.
They've had a couple of games. It's about 3 games SKT have played best of 1s where I'm like, damn, this SKT lineup looks scary. I liked them in game number 3 here. I remember the other game where they made the enemy Camille predictable with Elise jungle and really shut him down. And The third versus the fourth goes the way of SKT. That means KING-ZONE falls down to 4-3, where they're joined by Humble Life Esports. Damwon Gaming, a bit of daylight between them and 4-3, so there's a couple of series to play with there. So for now, the top 5 is set.
Top 5 looking set, but the top 3 are starting to really put a gulf between them. 3 points is actually nothing to scoff at here. Between KING-ZONE and SKT, it means that KING-ZONE, if they get a 2-0 in the next series, they're not even going to be able to catch up to them based on what's going to happen next. But tomorrow, we've got some interesting games. Damwon Gaming, that we've been talking about all day, struggling a little bit in the last few weeks. Now they've had a big break. We know that these guys scrim really well. So what are they going to be able to do up against the FLICKR Freaks, who have been throwing out some crazy shenanigans?
Worth knowing that Damwon are on a 4-match losing streak after starting 2-0, so kind of a reverse KING-ZONE situation there. So with a FLICKR and their roster, like you say, shenanigans going on, is Spirit going to be playing top lane with no CS? We don't know the answer to that, so interesting to see how it goes, but more games, more LCK, bring it on.
That's exactly right. We've still got so many more days to go, and we had such a big break. Thankfully, more LCK will be around tomorrow, but for us, for tonight, that is going to be it. Good night. See you all again tomorrow.
You take me higher when I feel low, make my world brighter when I'm alone. I keep on rolling, all with your fuel. You're like my gasoline that makes my dream come true. 'Cause this is the beginning. Together we'll be winning. With you I'm a star. Make my sorrow sing.
저마다 함께 싸 엘라 싸